The Sultan Ahmed Mosque or Sultan Ahmet Mosque, Turkish, Sultan Ahmet Camii, is a historic mosque in Istanbul, Turkey. The mosque is popularly known as the Blue Mosque for the blue tiles adorning the walls of its interior. It was built from 1609 to 1616, during the rule of Ahmed I. Its Külliye contains a tomb of the founder, a madrasah and a hospice. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque is still popularly used as a mosque. Sultan Ahmed I decided to build a large mosque in Istanbul to reassert Ottoman power. It would be the first imperial mosque for more than 40 years. While his predecessors had paid for their mosques with their spoil of war, Ahmet the First had to remove the funds of the Treasury, because he had not gained remarkable victories. It caused the anger of the ulema, the Muslim jurists. The mosque was built on the site of the palace of the Byzantine emperors, in front of the basilica Ayasofya, at that time, the primary imperial mosque in Istanbul, and the hippodrome, a site of significant symbolic meaning as it dominated the city skyline from the south. Big parts of the south shore of the mosque rest on the foundations, the vaults of the old Grand Palace. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque has 5 main domes, 6.3 minarets, and 8 secondary domes. The design is the culmination of 2 centuries of Ottoman mosque development. It incorporates some Byzantine Christian elements of the neighboring Hagia Sophia with traditional Islamic architecture and is considered to be the last great mosque of the classical period. The architect, Sedefkar Mehmed I, synthesized the ideas of his master Sinan, aiming for overwhelming size, majesty, and splendor. At its lower levels and at every pier, the interior of the mosque is lined with more than 20,000 handmade Zeynik-style ceramic tiles, made at Iznik, the ancient Nicaea, in more than 50 different tulip designs. The tiles at lower levels are traditional in design, while at gallery level their design becomes flamboyant with representations of flowers, fruit, and cypresses. The tiles were made under the supervision of the Iznik master. The price to be paid for each tile was fixed by the Sultan's decree, while tile prices in general increased over time. As a result, the quality of the tiles used in the building decreased gradually. The upper levels of the interior are dominated by blue paint. More than 200 stained glass windows with intricate designs admit natural light, today assisted by chandeliers. On the chandeliers, ostrich eggs are found that were meant to avoid cobwebs inside the mosque by repelling spiders. The decorations include verses from the Quran, many of them made by Sayyid Kosem Gubari, regarded as the greatest calligrapher of his time. The floors are covered with carpets, which are donated by the faithful and are regularly replaced as they wear out. The many spacious windows confer a spacious impression. The casements at floor level are decorated with opus sectile. Each exedra has 5 windows, some of which are blind. Each semidome has 14 windows and the central dome 28, 4 of which are blind. The colored glass for the windows was a gift of the Signoria of Venice to the Sultan. Most of these colored windows have by now been replaced by modern versions with little or no artistic merit. The most important element in the interior of the mosque is the mihrab, which is made of finely carved and sculptured marble, with a stalactite niche and a double inscriptive panel above it. It is surrounded by many windows. The adjacent walls are sheathed in ceramic tiles. To the right of the mihrab is the richly decorated minbar, or pulpit, where the imam stands when he is delivering his sermon at the time of noon prayer on Fridays or on holy days. The mosque has been designed so that even when it is at its most crowded, everyone in the mosque can see and hear the imam. The royal kiosk is situated at the southeast corner. It comprises a platform, a loggia, and 2 small retiring rooms. It gives access to the royal loge in the southeast upper gallery of the mosque. These retiring rooms became the headquarters of the Grand Vizier during the suppression of the rebellious Janissary Corps in 1826. The royal loge, Hunker Mahfil, is supported by 10 marble columns. It has its own mihrab, which used to be decorated with a jade rose and gilt and with 100 Qurans on an inlaid and gilded lecterns. The many lamps inside the mosque were once covered with gold and gems. Among the glass bowls one could find ostrich eggs and crystal balls. All these decorations have been removed or pillaged for museums. The great tablets on the walls are inscribed with the names of the caliphs and verses from the Quran. They were originally by the great 17th century calligrapher Sayyid Kosem Gubari of Diyarbakir but have been repeatedly restored. The facade of the spacious forecourt was built in the same manner as the facade of the Suleymaniye Mosque, except for the addition of the turrets on the corner domes. The court is about as large as the mosque itself and is surrounded by a continuous vaulted arcade, revok. It has ablution facilities on both sides. The central hexagonal fountain is small relative to the courtyard. The monumental but narrow gateway to the courtyard stands out architecturally from the arcade. Its semidome has a fine stalactite structure, crowned by a small ribbed dome on a tall thalabate. Its historical elementary school, Zbian Mektabi, is used as Mosque Information Center, which is adjacent to its outer wall on the site of Hagia Sophia. This is where they provide visitors with a free orientational presentation on the Blue Mosque and Islam in general. A heavy iron chain hangs in the upper part of the court entrance on the western side. Only the Sultan was allowed to enter the court of the mosque on horseback. The chain was put there, so that the Sultan had to lower his head every time he entered the court to avoid being hit. This was a symbolic gesture, to ensure the humility of the ruler in the face of the divine. Minarets. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque is one of the two mosques in Turkey that has 6 minarets, the second one being the Saban Mosque in Adana. When the number of minarets was revealed, the Sultan was criticized for being presumptuous, since this was the same number of minarets as at the Mosque of the Kaaba in Mecca. He overcame this problem by ordering a 7th minaret to be built at the Mecca Mosque. Minarets of the mosque. 4 minarets stand at the corners of the Blue Mosque. Each of these fluted, pencil-shaped minarets has 3 balconies, called serf, with stalactite corbels, while the 2 others at the end of the forecourt only have 2 balconies. Before the muezzin or prayer caller had to climb a narrow spiral staircase 5 times a day to announce the call to prayer. Today, a public announce system is being used, and the call can be heard across the old part of the city, echoed by other mosques in the vicinity. Large crowds of both Turks and tourists gather at sunset in the park facing the mosque to hear the call to evening prayers, as the sun sets and the mosque is brilliantly illuminated by colored floodlights. Pope Benedict XVI's visit and silent meditation. Pope Benedict XVI visited the Sultan Ahmed Mosque on November 30, 2006 during his visit to Turkey. It marks as only the second papal visit in history to a Muslim place of worship. Having removed his shoes, the Pope paused for a full 2 minutes, eyes closed in silent meditation, standing side by side with Mustafa Ark, the Mufti of Istanbul, and Emrullah Haydapalu, the Imam of the Blue Mosque. The Pope thanked divine providence for this and said, "May all believers identify themselves with the one God and bear witness to true brotherhood." The Pontiff noted that Turkey will be a bridge of friendship and collaboration between East and West, and he thanked the Turkish people for the cordiality and sympathy they showed him throughout his stay, saying, he felt loved and understood.